All right. Hello, virtual students. I am going to just give you an update and maybe clarify a few things really quickly. Let me switch my camera view where you can see me for a second. All right. I'm using my document camera. I hope you're all doing well. I wanted us to look at we're looking at the introduction chapter to this textbook. And we've started with lesson 1, and it's on page NOS. I think it starts on page NOS 4 is where lesson 1 actually begins. And I've asked you to answer some questions, to read through a packet and answer some questions. I'm going to go through and show you my answers. I'm going to talk about them. If you have any questions, send me an email. You are responsible for actually going through the packet and reading through all of the information. And it is talking about what science is and scientific inquiry, the different branches of science, scientific method, part of scientific inquiry, and let me see, I was losing my train of thought. Scientific theories versus scientific laws. So it was kind of a long lesson. I tried to break it down at least into 2 days for you. And let's look at these answers really quickly. Okay. Let me switch my camera view. All right. Hopefully you can see this. Let me cover my answers up pretty well. Some things that I underlined, I will talk about that you may want to underline. And if you printed your packet off, maybe you want to highlight it.
Daniel Bob, please come to the high school office. Daniel Bob.
Okay, so here's our vocabulary word, science. I highlighted science. What it is, it's the investigation and exploration of natural events, of the new information that results from those investigations. So when you observe, because we talked about observation, the natural world, you might form questions about what you see. And I think the picture in our textbook was the picture of the squirrel trying to get inside the bird feeder and to eat the bird feed. So when we observe, or it says while you're exploring those questions, when we're observing, you're probably using reasoning. You're reasoning through what you're seeing. Creativity. I wonder if this would work if we did this. Okay? Thinking outside the box. And skepticism. Skepticism is questioning, basically. Okay? So let's look at this. Question number 1. It says describe the behavior scientists use in their work. Scientists observe the natural world and explore questions using reasoning, creativity, and skepticism to find answers. Okay? So that's question number 1. Then we talked about the branches of science. So we've talked about life science, which is biology, the study of living things. Okay? There's a picture of it. Earth science is the study of the earth, rocks, soil, forces that shape Earth's surface. And physical science, the study of chemistry and physics. And physical science, okay? How substances react with one another. How a liquid changes to a solid. Let's look on to the next page. So before we move on, the key concepts we want to remember from lesson 1 that we want to make sure we walk away knowing from lesson 1. What is scientific inquiry? What are the results of scientific investigations? How can scientists prevent bias in a scientific investigation? We need to be able to answer these 3 questions by the end of the lesson. Okay. Question number 2. Why do scientists practice scientific inquiry? Why would that be necessary to use scientific inquiry? Okay. Well, it's to answer questions or to test ideas about the natural world, what we observe. Okay. Question number 3. What happens if a hypothesis is not supported? So we come up with a hypothesis to a scenario, okay? If it's not true, if it's not supported, the scientist then would modify or revise the hypothesis and go through the steps again. Remember that a hypothesis is a possible explanation about an observation that can be tested by scientific investigations. So at the bottom was a flow chart of scientific inquiry that you could also see in your textbook. It was colored. And I think it was on the plants, the vegetable garden. All right, let's look here. Here's the definition of an observation, inference, and hypothesis. I highlighted those in my packet. You may want to do the same. How does this process of inquiry usually begin? Well, it usually begins with an observation. We see that squirrels are trying to eat bird feed in that picture on the first page. An observation is using one or more of your senses to gather information and to take note of what occurs. Question number 5. It says, what is the purpose of a hypothesis? Okay, before we get to there, remember an inference is a logical explanation to an observation. So the inference explains, or it's a logical explanation that's explaining our observation. A hypothesis, it says, is a possible explanation about what we observe. This explains about what we observe, okay? Our hypothesis. So to the scenario about the vegetable garden that it talked about in your textbook, it says, after making observations and inferences, you are ready to develop a hypothesis and investigate why some vegetable plants are growing better than others if you planted a garden. Okay, so one hypothesis could be that some plants are growing larger and more quickly than others because they are receiving more water and sunlight. Or another hypothesis could be is that plants are growing quickly and have received fertilizer because fertilizer helps plants grow. Can we research both of these to see if they're true? Absolutely. Let's look at question number 5 now. It says, what is the purpose of a hypothesis? Well, it's to attempt to explain an observation that we've seen. This is explaining what we have observed. All right. Prediction is also on this page. A prediction is a statement that we can predict what will happen next, what we think will happen next. Okay, moving forward. Let me cover up my answers. All right, testing your hypothesis, analyzing your results, drawing a conclusion, and communicating our results. Let's look at this. So to test our hypothesis, it says when you test a hypothesis, you are often testing what you're predicting is going to happen. For example, you might design an experiment to test your hypothesis on fertilizer. You set up an experiment in which the plant seeds and add fertilizer to only some of them. So some you add fertilizer to and some you don't. Then you watch as they grow over a period of time. And then you're going to analyze which plants grew better. Was it the ones with the fertilizer or without the fertilizer? Okay, that's part of analyzing your results. So you can create graphs, classify information, and make models and calculations of what you observe. Okay, did the fertilizer help the plants grow? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. You're going to be able to compare it. What are the 3 ways to organize data? You create graphs, classify information, and make models. That is organizing your data to view and analyze your results. All right. Drawing a conclusion. It says, now you must decide whether your data supports your hypothesis. Did the fertilizer support our hypothesis? It says a conclusion is a summary of the information gained from testing your hypothesis. You might make more inferences when you're drawing conclusions. If your hypothesis is supported, you can repeat your experiment several times to confirm your results. Okay, it says if your hypothesis is not supported, you can modify it and then repeat the scientific inquiry process. So, what should scientists do if their hypothesis is supported? Repeat it several times, okay, to confirm your results. What is scientific inquiry? That was one of the questions. Scientists use information from other scientists in their research. They also may repeat investigations to confirm other scientists' results. All right. This is where we're going to stop because I asked you to do the first 1 through 8 on Monday and then the second 9 through 14 on Tuesday. There will be another video covering the rest of the lesson. All right, thank you for listening.